when I had a threatened miscarriage. I bled all over the seat of Grant Sheridan's car. He stared at the stain, his expression twisted with disgust, and shoved me out without a word. "You couldn't prepare for this. How unlucky," he snapped. Later that night, as soon as I returned home, he tossed a pair of lace underwear at me. "These are Samantha's. Go wash them. She stained them during her period." I unlocked my phone and saw a social media post from his childhood friend. "Whenever my period starts, my silly brother gets more nervous than I do." The picture showed Grant in the kitchen, carefully preparing brown sugar peach gum soup. I didn't hesitate. I dialed my boss. "I'll take the overseas assignment. I'm ready." "Are you sure?" he asked. "It's at least 3 years away." "I'm sure," I said. Moments later, Grant came out of the kitchen. He was a good cook, though he rarely bothered to cook except for her. "Who were you talking to?" he asked. I said nothing and headed to our bedroom, only to find Samantha Tate lying across our wedding bed. She looked up with a smug smile. "Lena Sinclair, this bed is so soft, perfect for easing cramps. Don't mind me, right?" Grant followed her in, without a glance at me. "Let her stay here tonight. You can sleep elsewhere," he said. I didn't argue. I picked up my laptop and quietly left. From behind, I heard her sweet voice. "Grant, the peach gum soup is delicious." He answered warmly, doting as always. "Have some more if you like." That morning, I had nearly lost my baby. My blood had stained his car. But he assumed it was just my period, grew annoyed, and left me stranded in the rain. By the time I reached the hospital, the doctor shook his head. "If you had come sooner, we might have saved the baby." Back home, I found the approval documents for the overseas project waiting in my inbox. I signed them without hesitation. Later, Grant went to the bathroom. He noticed I wasn't there to prepare his usual bath and finally remembered me. He saw me pale and working at the study desk and stepped forward, maybe to speak, but Samantha called him. He paused, smiled at her, and didn't come out for the rest of the night. The next morning, I saw him leaving Samantha's room. He tried to explain. "She had bad cramps last night. She needed me." I nodded quietly and moved past him to the kitchen. He frowned but followed. "Lena, don't be so cold to her. She's sensitive, don't weigh her down emotionally." Our marriage had been filled with tension since she returned. Any concern I showed was dismissed in favor of protecting Samantha's delicate feelings. Now I was done. I placed my phone in front of him. "Don't worry, she won't feel burdened with you by her side." The screen showed Samantha's late-night post. "My silly brother stayed up all night with his warm hands on my stomach. He's exhausted." The picture showed Grant asleep beside her, one large hand resting on her belly. He opened his mouth to speak, but I didn't need to hear anything. Seeing my indifference, Grant's frown deepened. "Samantha is young. Don't argue with her. Once she feels better, I'll send her home." I nodded and turned to prepare breakfast. Watching me at the stove, his tone softened slightly. "Didn't you always say you liked the boat porridge I made? I'll make it today." He busied himself in the kitchen, but I felt hollow. We'd been together for years, yet he never cooked for me. Now, Samantha received his attention every day. Samantha came running out, barefoot and laughing. She clung to Grant's arm. "Grant, I want crab and shrimp dumplings from that place in Westfield." I had wanted that once too, but he had refused. Now, he chuckled and tapped her nose gently. All right, I'll spoil my little foodie." They left, and I finished cooking alone. I calmly canceled our wedding photo shoot. Suddenly, a sharp pain tore through my abdomen. I collapsed, curling in agony, and instinctively called Grant. The phone rang endlessly before he finally answered, irritation in his voice. "Lena, enough. Can't you see Samantha's still hungry? Text me if it's important." "Grant, He hung up before I could finish. Everything went black. I woke in the hospital. The doctor confirmed I had miscarried and needed proper rest. That night, Grant called. "Why aren't you home?" "I'm working late." I said without hesitation. He didn't question me. Samantha's staying home. Don't disturb her if you come back late. He never called again that night. I knew where he was. The next morning, I went to pick up medication and saw him supporting Samantha, who looked weak and frail. Grant frowned. Lena, are you here for a doctor too? I answered calmly. Yes, my period, been painful. Samantha, seizing the moment, feigned weakness. Lena came alone, must not be serious. Grant softened instantly, helping her forward. Then, as if it were charity, he offered, come with us, I'll give you a ride home. I refused, insisting I wanted to return to the office. Before I could protest further, Grant guided me to the back seat. Samantha was already in the front passenger seat, lounging confidently, as if the car and the man beside her were entirely hers. Just let him drive you, Lena, she said sweetly. He hasn't been busy with work lately because he's been keeping me company. Plenty of free time now. In 8 years together, even on anniversaries or when I was unwell, Grant had never skipped work for me. But the moment Samantha returned to America, he poured all his attention into her. The thought stung sharply as I quietly observed them in the front seats. Then Samantha gasped. Grant, I think I stained your seat. Sure enough, a faint red mark marred the upholstery. Grant didn't flinch. Calmly, indulgently, he said, It's okay, it just needs a wash. Almost instinctively, he glanced at me through the rearview mirror. I didn't react. He looked away without another word. When we arrived at the office, I stepped out only to meet my supervisor. Lena, he said, concern etched on his face, are you absolutely sure about this? Once the paperwork is submitted, there's no turning back. Weren't you planning to get married and take your honeymoon next month? I was about to respond when Grant lowered the car window, his expression sharp. Samantha wants to travel next month, he stated bluntly. Let's delay the wedding and honeymoon by a month. I nodded without hesitation. All right. He looked surprised, perhaps expecting an argument, but I didn't give one. Samantha leaned toward him, tugging playfully at his arm. Don't postpone the honeymoon. Let's all go together. Grant smiled, never glancing back at me. Sure, we'll go together. Lena, book your own trip separately. I didn't object. After all, I had already decided I wasn't going through with the wedding. Why bother with the honeymoon? I watched their car drive away, Grant's figure fading in the distance. My supervisor looked at me gravely. Once the paperwork is processed, it takes about a week. If needed, I can expedite it. You could leave as soon as the day after tomorrow. That evening, for the first time in a while, Grant picked me up from work. He handed me a bowl of warm brown sugar peach gum soup. I made this for you, he said. Just then, his phone buzzed. A message from Samantha appeared. Grant, you've made so much soup. Are you trying to turn Samantha into a pig? The car fell silent. Eventually, he broke it. You're reading materials about the overseas project, preparing for your trip. I shook my head, just reviewing them as my boss requested. He softened, unusually tender for someone typically distant. Take the day off tomorrow. I'll take you to the movies. Weren't you eager to see the new release? No need. I won't have time tomorrow, I replied. He misunderstood, his tone sharpening. Lena, what's your problem now? You let Samantha stay a few days, and suddenly you're upset. I tried to explain, but he cut me off. With that attitude, how can I marry you? Samantha would suffer too much. He continued, voice heavy and accusing. I run this house. Letting her stay a few days is nothing. Even if she ends up living here permanently, you have no say. After that, he slammed on the brakes. He dropped me 2 kilometers from home on a deserted road, telling me to walk alone to reflect on myself. Meanwhile, he returned, coaxed Samantha to sleep, and waited, confident I would come home and apologize. 8 years of love meant I had always given in first. I would bow, apologize, and try to make amends. But this time, I didn't. The next day, after work, I received a message from Grant. Bring painkillers for Samantha to a private room at a high-end restaurant. I didn't want to go, but remembered how he had supported me during my own hardships years ago. That debt needed repaying. I arrived and paused outside. Inside, I heard playful voices. "Samantha, did you come back to America for Grant? When's the wedding?" Samantha giggled. "Whatever Grant decides is fine with me." Grant said nothing. I entered the room to see him feeding her gently while those around teased them. His eyes met mine, cold and sharp. "Lena, are you following me?" The message hadn't come from him, it was Samantha, but it didn't matter. I tossed the painkillers onto the table. "You sent me for this, didn't you? Don't act like you forgot." Then I walked away. Grant froze. Before, I would have stood beside him, asserting my presence. Now I said nothing. Not arguing unsettled him. While waiting for the elevator, my boss called. "Lena, your application is approved. You can book your flight." I nodded. "I'll reserve it now." Grant's voice rang behind me, suspicious. "What are you booking?" Without turning, I lied casually. "A client dinner. I'm reserving a private room." He said nothing and rode the elevator down with me, offering a ride home. As we reached the lobby, his phone rang. "Samantha." "My stomach hurts. Come back to stay with me." Without a glance at me, he stepped out and rode back up, phone in hand. I began packing at home. Soon, Grant called again, this time with an unusual tone of consideration. "Aren't we supposed to take wedding photos today? Why didn't you remind me?" I had arranged everything myself. He hadn't lifted a finger. Now, he sounded offended. "Since you're busy with Samantha, we can do the photos after the honeymoon," I said, folding clothes. He erupted. "Lena, do you realize how valuable my time is? How dare you make decisions without me?" "Then cancel the wedding entirely," I shot back. He hung up. My chest ached. The boy who once promised fireworks and happiness was gone. I grabbed our framed photos and tossed them into the trash. Late at night, Grant came home, supporting a drunken Samantha. He noticed the house had changed. "Lena, what are you doing?" he demanded. I looked up calmly. "The house was cluttered. I'm just tidying up." Grant shot me a sharp, icy look before carrying Samantha straight to the bedroom. Minutes later, her loud, tipsy laughter echoed from behind the door. I felt a flicker of irritation. Grant poked his head out. "Do you have any hangover medicine?" Back when his work dinners were frequent, I always kept a supply of pills in the cabinet. Not anymore. I had thrown them all out, along with any trace of patience. "We're out," I said flatly. "Fine," he muttered. "Just tell me the brand, I'll get it myself." When I didn't respond, he snatched my phone from the table, clearly annoyed, and tried to unlock it. Several failed attempts later, his face darkened. "Lena, when did you change your password?" I calmly retrieved it. "When I felt like it, need a reason." His frustration boiled over. "How long are you going to act like this?" He stormed into the bedroom, slamming the door behind him. All night, Samantha's playful whining bounced off the walls, her laughter laced with requests for kisses, hugs, and pampering. The next morning, the city trembled slightly from a minor earthquake. Startled awake, Grant's first thought was to grab the panicked Samantha and get her to safety. Only when the shaking stopped did he remember I wasn't there. By that time, I was already at the airport. My suitcase was beside me as his name flashed repeatedly across my phone screen. I ignored it. Just before boarding, I sent one final message. "Let's break up." Then I removed the SIM card, snapped it in half, and tossed it into the airport trash. At the exact moment he saw the message, Grant froze, staring at his phone, his expression hardening. Samantha, standing beside him, tried to hide her delight but forced tears into her eyes. "Grant, Lena must be upset because of me. If she returns, I'll move out. I won't bother you again." Grant rubbed his temples, clearly irritated. "Don't worry, I won't let her push you out." He reached for his phone, seemingly about to message me, but his eyes landed on the table, and he froze again. His breath hitched just as his phone rang once more. A relative's call. Grant, check the group chat. Did you see the link Lena sent? What's going on? Grant didn't hear the voices around him. They faded into distant noise. He walked toward the table, each step weighed down with disbelief, and picked up the object left behind. Her engagement ring. Lena had worn it every single day since he proposed, cherishing it like a piece of herself. She always smiled when it was on her hand, refusing to take it off, even while sleeping. And now she had left it behind, as if it meant nothing. For the first time, a chill of panic surged through him. He dialed her number repeatedly, only to hear the same message. This number is no longer in service. He tried texting her, but the moment he hit send, the words stabbed sharper than any blow. You have been blocked. Fear twisted into dread. He rushed into her room, flung open the closet doors, empty. Her belongings, her scent, her presence, everything was gone. Could she really have left him? No, impossible. She loved him. She had always loved him more than anything. How could she walk away so easily? His hands shook as he gripped the ring, knuckles white, veins straining. Then he remembered the message in the family group chat, the link everyone had been asking about. It had been sent by Lena herself. He hadn't even checked it. Now he clicked it, barely breathing. A few seconds later, tension eased slightly. On the screen was a wedding invitation. A small, relieved smile tugged at his lips. See, just a scare, a tantrum, she wouldn't really leave. But as the relief settled, irritation followed. She had gone too far this time. He swore, when she returned, he would make her apologize, admit she'd gone too far, and beg for forgiveness. Then he looked closer at the invitation, and his breath caught. The bride's name was Samantha. Silence filled the room. Samantha, standing beside him, could no longer hide her triumph. A slow, victorious smile spread across her face. Lena had really given up. Phones began ringing in quick succession. The wedding planner, the photographer, even the designer for the ceremony. Each offered congratulations and best wishes to Grant and Miss Samantha. His face darkened, fury erupted. Without a word, he hurled his phone against the wall. It shattered with a loud crash. Samantha screamed in fear and recoiled, not daring to approach. Meanwhile, I had just landed. At the arrivals hall, a familiar figure stood holding a sign with my name. Quentin, I asked, stunned. Quentin Yale smiled, extending his hand. Welcome, little sister Sinclair. It's great to have you on board. Back in college, Quentin had been brilliant and admired by all. After graduation, he went abroad and joined an elite 500 company. I never imagined we'd be working together now. You turned down the overseas scholarship all those years ago, he said as we walked to the car. Honestly, I thought I'd never get the chance to work with you again. On the drive, Quentin reminisced about our university days. I stared out the window, lost in thought. Years ago, I had given up the study abroad offer just to stay with Grant. I had believed our love would last forever. I never imagined 8 years of devotion could unravel so completely. That evening, after my first day at work, a message appeared on my phone from my former supervisor back home. It contained a surveillance video from the office. Curious, I opened it. In the footage, Grant stormed into the office, furious, clearly demanding something from my supervisor. When the supervisor refused, Grant's temper flared. He grabbed him by the collar. Security had to intervene. The video ended there. I stared at the screen, stunned. He must have discovered I'd changed the bride's name to Samantha. Perhaps he thought it was public humiliation, or blamed my supervisor for not stopping me. Either way, someone else had been dragged into the fallout. I quickly messaged my supervisor, apologizing. He didn't blame me. He only asked, "Will you tell Grant you've gone abroad?" I hesitated, then typed, "Since we've broken up, there's no need for further contact." I buried myself in my new life. Work was fulfilling, and in just a week, the client company praised me. Quentin was pleased, too. "Still sharp as ever," he said with a warm grin. 1 month later, at a corporate charity dinner, I mingled with colleagues, wine in hand, laughter on my lips. A call came from an unknown number. I ignored it. Seconds later, the last person I wanted to see appeared at the entrance, Grant. His eyes were dark, intense. He spotted me immediately and pushed through the crowd. Before I could react, he grabbed my wrist. "Lena, why didn't you answer my call?" he demanded. The smile froze on my face. He should have been enjoying his honeymoon with Samantha. "What are you doing here?" I asked coldly. "We've broken up, Grant. Let go of me." I tried to pull my hand free, but he held on tight, his grip painful. "Break up? When did we break up? I never agreed to that." I stared at him, incredulous. He was the one openly flirting with another woman, letting her wear the wedding dress I chose, eat the cake I planned, and take my place in our ceremony. And now he refused to accept we were done. I exhaled slowly, pushing down the tremor in my chest. "If this is about pride, fine. If it makes you feel better, I'll say you dumped me. I'll tell everyone you were the one who walked away. Does that satisfy you?" The moment his words left his mouth, Grant's eyes darkened even further. "Lena, is that really how little you think of me? I didn't do anything wrong. Why are you trying to break up with me?" I froze, caught off guard by his audacity. I had never imagined he could be so blind to the pain he had caused, so unapologetically self-righteous. A few nearby guests at the banquet had started glancing our way, sensing the tension. I didn't want to make a scene, so I grabbed his wrist and led him out of the venue. We settled into a quiet nearby restaurant. I intended to end things clearly, finally. The moment we sat down, Grant attempted to soften his tone, though his words were clumsy and awkward. "Lena, the food abroad must be terrible. You've lost weight. Come back with me. Once we're back, we'll get the marriage certificate. I'll give you the wedding you always dreamed of." For 8 years, I had dreamed of marrying him. But every time I brought it up, he insisted the timing wasn't right, citing company matters. Then, just a month ago, he proposed. I had been ecstatic and threw myself into planning every detail of the wedding. And then he brought Samantha home. "Lena," he said, "you're going to be my wife now. You have to treat Samantha like your own sister." Only later did I realize he hadn't proposed out of love. He had wanted me around to care for her. And because of her, the wedding kept getting postponed. My chest tightened at the memory, and I rubbed my temples to ease the ache. I looked him straight in the eyes. "Grant, we've broken up. It's over." His frown deepened. "Lena, why are you being so stubborn? Why keep forcing this?" "I told you, Samantha was in pain during her period. I only let her stay for a few days to care for her. Why can't you be more understanding?" I had nothing left to say. Instead, I pulled out my phone and scrolled through screenshots of all the messages Samantha had sent me. I turned the screen toward him. He saw them, his face drained instantly. "Lena," he stammered. "She was drunk. I scolded her hard. She's just a child, spoiled, you shouldn't take it to heart." A child, I almost laughed. The so-called child was 2 years younger than me. I leaned forward, my voice calm but cutting. "Grant, your company is nearing its IPO, right? Tell me, if investors caught wind of a story about the CEO cheating on his fiancée, how do you think that would affect confidence?" Finally, he understood. This wasn't a confrontation, it was a warning. I wasn't asking for apologies, I was cutting ties. His jaw clenched, fists tightening. You're threatening me." "Call it whatever you want," I said evenly. "But if you think I'm bluffing, go ahead and try me." His lips parted, voice faltering. "Fine," he said after a pause, eyes burning with anger. "I hope you don't regret this." He stormed out of the restaurant, already calling to book the next flight home. Only then did I finally feel like I could breathe. As I walked back to the banquet, a tall figure waited just outside the entrance. Quentin. "I got a little bored inside," he said lightly as I approached. "Came out for some fresh air." I said nothing, but inwardly I was grateful he was there. Another month passed. I had fully settled into life abroad. I had even adopted a puppy, Dun Dun, who quickly became the center of my world. One quiet weekend afternoon, Quentin dropped by to let me try one of his latest recipes. I was outside in the garden, giving Dun Dun a bath, covered in suds, hair plastered to my forehead. Quentin laughed at the sight, scooping up a spoonful of the dish and offering it to me. I took a bite, eyes widening in surprise. "This is amazing," I exclaimed, my voice muffled by the food. He grinned, clearly pleased. Seeing soap bubbles clinging to my cheeks, he gently wiped them away with a napkin. "Look at you," he chuckled. "You look like a messy little kitten." Quentin's gentle gaze caught me off guard, scattering my thoughts and making my ears flush red. His eyes were warm, focused entirely on me, as if he wanted to say something he'd been holding back for a long time. "Lena, He hesitated, gathering courage for a confession. Before he could continue, a sharp tug on my wrist sent me stumbling. I fell into an all-too-familiar embrace. "Grant," I gasped, struggling against him. "What are you doing here? Let me go." I pushed at his chest, but his grip only tightened. He had returned, not just after resolving his company's IPO crisis, but having flown overseas to chase me down. "Lena, what are you planning now?" he growled, his voice low and hoarse. His stubble rough against my skin, exhaustion etched into his features, yet his eyes burned with unyielding determination. He looked like a man who had made up his mind. I had assumed that after months of distance, silence, and Samantha's interference, he would let go. Clearly, I had underestimated the depth of his obsession. Before I could react, Quentin stepped forward, shielding me behind his body. His expression was icy, unwavering as he confronted Grant. "Don't harass her again," he warned. Grant's fists clenched at his sides, but his glare never left me. He ignored Quentin completely, his voice cutting through the air. "Lena, come here. Look closely. Who's your real fiancé?" I laughed, incredulous. "Grant, are you even listening to yourself? We're already broken up. Do you not understand what that means?" His temple veins bulged as he tried to steady his breathing. "It's been 2 months," he ground out. "You've had time to cool off. Come back with me." Arrogant and overbearing as ever, he lunged forward, attempting to pull me along. I opened my mouth to protest when another voice interrupted. Samantha had arrived. Her gaze immediately fell on Quentin, standing protectively in front of me. Jealousy flickered across her face as she approached, voice dripping with sarcasm. "Grant, Lena's already found someone new. That's why she left you so easily," she said, feigning sorrow. "It's my fault. If I hadn't needed to stay at your house, she wouldn't have broken up with you. And now she's running off with another man. Are you really going to let her treat you like this?" Grant's eyes turned bloodshot, yet instead of exploding in rage, he swallowed it and turned back to me, jaw tight, teeth clenched. "Lena," he said softly, "if you come back, I'll forgive everything, the betrayal, the threats, all of it. If Samantha living here bothers you, I'll make her leave. You'll have the final say. The house, our life, everything will be yours." I paused, then responded slowly, deliberately. "Fine, let her stay, but I want to speak with her alone, just the two of us." Relief softened Grant's features instantly. He gently nudged Samantha toward me. "Go, listen to what she has to say," he instructed. The moment his back was turned, Samantha shot me a contemptuous, smug look. "Lena," she sneered, "is Grant good to you? Even after you cheated, he still forgives you, if I were you." Splat. She never finished. I grabbed the foamy soap in my hand and smeared it across her face without warning. Her shriek echoed as the soap stung her eyes. Ah, my eyes. I wasn't done. I yanked her hair and delivered several sharp slaps across her face, each one a release of months of bottled-up frustration. Her cheeks reddened and swelled, blood trickling from the corner of her mouth. "I told you not to spread lies. Who gave you permission to stir up drama?" Finally, I released her, giving one last shove. She flew backward toward Grant, but he didn't catch her. He stepped aside, cold and indifferent. Samantha landed face first in the pile of dog poop Dun Dun had left earlier on the lawn. Bleg, She lay there, humiliated, retching uncontrollably, tears streaming down her face. Dun Dun barked furiously beside Samantha, circling her as if scolding her for the misstep on the lawn. The little dog yapped and leapt with irritation, tail stiff and raised in indignation. Samantha, pale and nauseated, crawled frantically across the grass, blindly reaching for Grant as if he were her only salvation. Her hand brushed the leg of his trousers, but the moment she touched him, he recoiled sharply, shaking her off with an expression of disgust, as if even a second of her presence was unbearable. Without looking back, he strode toward me, guilt and urgency etched across his features. He stopped in front of me, eyes earnest, voice pleading. "Lena, I understand now. You never liked Samantha, and I promise I'll cut her out of my life. I know you're still angry, but come home with me. Let's start fresh." He reached out as if to take my hand, as though his contrition could erase the past. Before he could touch me, Quentin stepped in, placing himself between us, gaze cold and resolute. "Step aside," Quentin said, his tone firm. The tension between the two men was electric, each breath a potential spark. I raised my voice first. "Grant, do you remember that night 2 months ago, the night you threw me out of the car?" His expression froze mid-motion. "I was already 2 months pregnant that night," I continued steadily. Silence fell. He stared at me, eyes wide, his breath caught, lips trembling as he struggled to comprehend. He had assumed I was on my period, had looked at me with disgust over what he thought was a mess in the car seat. He could not have imagined the truth, that it had been our child, calling for help. I didn't wait for him to respond. It was pouring rain. I couldn't get a taxi. Blood soaked my clothes and it wouldn't stop. The doctor said if I'd arrived even a few minutes earlier, our baby might have survived. His knees buckled slightly, and he sank to the ground, numb. His gaze was fixed on my abdomen, eyes vacant, lips parted but unable to form words. His hands shook. How could this be?" he whispered. I looked down at him, voice icy and sharp. "Grant, it was you who destroyed our child's life with your own hands. Don't dare ask for forgiveness. You're not worthy." That was the last time I saw him in person. I moved on. Months later, an ornate envelope arrived in my mailbox, a wedding invitation from Grant. The card was exquisite, clearly expensive, but the handwriting was stiff, almost resentful. "As you wished, I'm marrying Samantha. Will you attend our wedding?" Having long since buried all emotional attachment to him, I accepted the invitation. Curiosity, not anger, guided me. On the day of the wedding, I arrived gracefully, composed and indifferent. Samantha appeared in a wedding gown, but it was not the dress I had chosen for myself. It was a cheap imitation. Her makeup was thick, but it could not conceal the pallor beneath. Her eyes were hollow, her smile forced. Seeing me, she forced a smirk. Grant and I were childhood sweethearts. Finally, we're together just like destiny intended. I crossed my arms, voice cool and amused. Not like someone who clung to him for 8 years, only to walk away with nothing. "Tell me, if your love is so deep, why were the two of you apart for so long?" Samantha's face twisted in anger. "Funny, I came across some news abroad recently. Rumors, mostly, but some quite entertaining about an American woman who—" "Shut up," she shrieked, her fury drawing the attention of the other guests, whispers spreading through the room. Realizing she had lost control, she forced a stiff smile. "It's a big day for me," she said, feigning joy. "And the baby in my belly is happy too." She rubbed her stomach triumphantly, expecting me to break down. Later, at the ceremony, Grant entered with Samantha on his arm. The moment he saw me seated in the audience, a spark of life returned to his otherwise hollow expression. His eyes locked onto mine, pleading silently. Samantha noticed and gripped his hand, her smile stiffening. She dragged him up to the stage. As they prepared to exchange rings, the lights dimmed. A video began playing on the massive screen behind them. In it, Samantha clung to another man, arms around his neck. "Baby," she cooed, "Grant is so boring, always working. You're the only one who knows how to treat me right." The man laughed, leaning closer, clearly intending more. Samantha gently pushed his hand away, patting her stomach. Smiling, she whispered, "Careful, we can't be too rough. I need to keep the baby safe." Have some care, Tilda, be gentle, Tilda, you'll hurt the baby. He's supposed to inherit Grant's fortune someday, Samantha whimpered. I know, little one, Tilda, I just can't stop, Tilda. Suddenly, a sharp buzz cut through the feed, and the video ended abruptly. The room went silent. Samantha froze, her face ashen, legs trembling beneath her. Gasps and murmurs spread quickly, stifled laughter rippling through the stunned wedding guests. Whispers grew into mockery. Rage flared in Samantha's eyes. Bloodshot, she spun toward me, shouting, "Lena, you witch! How dare you humiliate me!" She lunged, fingers clawed, clearly ready to attack. Smack! Grant's hand struck her sharply across the face, snapping her head to the side. Her defiance crumbled instantly. She stumbled, clinging to the hem of his suit, crying hysterically. "Grant, I didn't do it, I swear. She's setting me up, I'm innocent." Grant's gaze was icy, voice flat. "I played the video myself." The room fell silent. Samantha's eyes darted from him to me, then back again, disbelief and horror in her expression. "You, what?" Her voice trembled as she whispered, "This video, Lena gave it to you, didn't she? You actually believe her over me." "This video is fake. It's edited. She's trying to ruin me." Grant's lips curled in a cold, controlled sneer. "Is that so? Then you won't mind taking a paternity test, for the child you claim is yours." Those words shattered her completely. Her body swayed, her gaze unfocused. "So, you knew all along. You proposed, announced the wedding, just to destroy me in public." When Grant remained silent, reality hit her like a tidal wave. Her face twisted in desperation and rage. "Do you think Lena will come back to you now? You were the one who crossed the line. You drove her away. You abandoned her in the storm. You killed her baby. She'll never forgive you." Her scream echoed, but the crowd remained frozen. Grant's jaw tightened, eyes burning with contained fury. "Security, remove her." Two guards seized her arms as she thrashed, cursing and kicking. The chaotic, scandalous wedding ended in utter disgrace. After the guests had left, Grant approached me, eyes sincere for the first time. "I'm sorry, Lena," he said quietly. "If she hadn't lied, if she hadn't twisted everything, none of this would have happened. I would have never thrown you out. And our baby." I raised a hand, cutting him off sharply. "Enough, don't speak of the past." "I'm done here," I added, turning away. "My boyfriend is waiting for me." Without another glance, I walked off, free from regret. Later, news of Grant's behavior spread through the business world. Shareholders, alarmed by his instability, voted unanimously to remove him from his chairman position. Meanwhile, I was thousands of miles away, walking along a sunlit beach with Quentin on our honeymoon. I had learned that happiness is fragile, fleeting. And above all, it's the people who stand by us, truly stand by us, who deserve our care, attention, and love before it's too late.